Dzień dobry Państwu, bardzo punktualnie o godzinie 10. Witam wszystkich zgromadzonych tutaj z nami na trzecim forum edukacji zawodowej Europass.
It's time to start the second day of our Europass Euroguidance forum. I'm very pleased to welcome everyone who's with us online. And I strongly recommend you to stay until the end of our program. Yesterday we had a very full agenda, interesting workshops and presentations. We had the Competition Awards Gala, and today will be a shorter day, and it will be concluded with a lunch at 1. I strongly recommend that you use your interpreting devices, headsets, because we have international speakers. The first presentation will be in English. It will be given by Marianna, Szabo of Tempus Public Foundation in Hungary. This is a pre-recorded presentation, especially for the participants of our forum. So should you need interpreting, use the headphones, grab them from the reception desk. Obviously we will have coffee breaks, we will have a special debate moderated by Łukasz. So now it is time for the first presentation by Marianna, Szabo of Tempus Public Foundation, Hungary.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. I am Csilla Marianna Szabo from the Hungarian National Agency, so-called Tempus Public Foundation. Thank you very much for the organizer to invite me to this conference. It's a great honor to me to be the speaker at the third Vocational Education Forum. The topic of the forum is extremely important and essential today. In my presentation, I would like to find a connection between the expectation of the labor market and how school prepares students for these expectations, focusing on, of course, digital competence. I would like to start with a quotation which was said by Alvin Toffler more than 50 years ago. He said that illiteracy in the 21st century does not mean people who cannot read and write, but it refers to the ones who cannot learn, unlearn and relearn. And when we talk about digital competence, relearning and reskilling is essential. In the first part of the presentation, I would like to highlight the expectation of the labor market based on the World Economic Forum. So what was their prediction in 2020 by 2021? They mentioned that in 2021, about 50% of all employees need reskilling. 40% of workers need very short reskilling, 6 months long or even shorter. We have to face new skills like active learning or flexibility. There will be a change between in the division of labor between humans and machines, and it refers to 85 million of jobs. So all it means that we have to adopt technology on a greater level. They listed the top 10 job skills that will appear and will be important in 2021. And out of these 10 ones, there are 2 refers to IT sector and digital competence, technology use, monitoring and control, and the other is technology design and programming. They examined how demand for these skills of group will change by 2021. Some of them will decreasing and some increasing. If you look at the technology use and development, we see that there will be a harsh increase in demand for these types of skills, together with critical thinking and problem solving. On the other hand, physical abilities will suffer a harsh decrease in demand for these skills. They listed the top 20 jobs in which they can find or they can detect or predict harsh increase in demand. And if you look at these jobs, you can find that about half of them, or minimum half of them, refers to the IT sector, digital technology, and digital competence, such as data analyst and specialist, AI and machine learning specialist, big data specialist, information security analyst, software and application developers, etc., etc. So it is obvious that we cannot live. Digital technology is part of our everyday life. Now, how EU supports to improve digital skills in their countries. I would like to mention the milestones in the near past, only some of them, which support the documents, declaration that try to support, to develop, to improve digital skills among European citizens. The first one is the Porto Declaration from 2021. This declaration mentions we should accelerate green and digital transition in all countries. For that one, we have to invest in education in general, and of course in vocational education training, lifelong learning, which is mostly adult education, upskilling and reskilling. That is what World Economic Forum mentioned we should do, we need to do in the nearby future. This declaration also mentioned that the driving force in Europe should be or must be young people. So we have to provide perfect information, perfect skills for them to be able to learn, to be able to skill themselves in the future. The next one is the proposal for a decision of European Parliament and Council in 2021. First of all, they start with a kind of current situation statement, and they mention very harsh and shocking statistical figures. 70% of businesses today report that they do not have enough number of staff who has adequate digital skills. The other very shocking figure is that almost half of the EU population has absolutely no or only very low level of digital skills. And what are the plans they would like to reach by 2030? They would like to achieve that 80% of the adult population of the EU should have a minimum basic level of digital skills. Plus, we will need about 20 million ICT specialists. They pay attention to a very specific group of citizens, that is elderly people, and they mention that we have to improve their digital skills as well, so that they can participate in society as other citizens, other people, as younger ones. And the last one is, I would like to mention, that is this year, 2023, the European Year of Skills. In the opening ceremony, Ursula von der Leyen mentioned that investing in education is not just wise, but an important thing to do. Because we can detect now so many technological changes, and we face the green and the digital transition, and all these changes result in appearing absolutely new jobs and new work forms which do not exist today. So we have to prepare our students for reskilling and upskilling to be able to adapt to new situations, new jobs, new work forms. And all these things are really important so that Europe could develop in the future, and we could maintain the competitiveness of the European economy. It means that digital competence, preparing students for the future and providing them digital competence, starts in education. What is happening in the education to develop digital competence, both of students and of course teachers? I'm starting with the key competencies. These are the most important 8 competencies everyone should acquire to live a full life in societies, and one of them is digital competence. Digital competence means confident, critical and responsible use of and engagement with digital technologies for learning, at work and for participation in society. experts elaborated the digital competence framework, and there are 5 areas: information data literacy, communication and collaboration, digital content creation, safety, and problem solving. These 5 areas include 21 different competencies, such as evaluating data, information and digital content, netiquette, programming, protecting devices, etc., etc. These are on different levels. And of course, not all citizens should know all these competencies on the same levels, but these are the most important competencies. The levels of these competencies, starting from A1, the newcomer who is getting aware of how to use digital technology, through experts, till pioneers, to the pioneers who innovate new things in digital education and digitalization in general. And in the second part of my presentation, I would like to focus on Hungarian education, especially digital competencies in Hungarian education. As in all countries in EU, Hungarian experts elaborated the national qualifications framework in VET. They elaborated it for each sector in VET, focusing on 4 areas: professional knowledge, skills, attitude, and autonomy and responsibility. Moreover, 1 or 2 years ago, they elaborated for these professional competencies the suitable digital competence level. So each sector in VET, each jobs in VET, each subject, professional subject, has its own digital competence level. Of course, there are 8 levels, but experts mention that most VET jobs or jobs which are taught on secondary, higher secondary VET level belong to level 4 and level 5. Level 4 means in intermediate level, where students should or could be able to do tasks, solve problems which are well-defined but non-routine problems. Moreover, they should understand the steps towards these solutions. On level 5, that is the advanced level, students should solve several different tasks and problems. Meanwhile, they support other students to do things. And while supporting them, they gather information, gather some knowledge, and they should apply this gathered knowledge later in their career. This digital competence qualification network is elaborated totally, but it is still not introduced as a compulsory element in VET education. If we want to know where our students, where we are, currently, where we would like to get to, where we would like to go, we should measure somehow our digital competence. There are 2 tools which are available, both are available in Hungarian education for teachers, students and institutes. One of them is Selfie. I think it is well known for you because it was developed by EU experts. It's a very complex self-reflection and development tool which perfect for institutes to measure, to assess their digital competence. The questionnaires are filled by principals, teachers and students, based on self-assessment, so it does not provide concrete, exact, practical task to do to measure the digital competence. But in the end, when you fill in the questionnaire, it provides reflection to the user. The other is Hungarian innovation. It's the so-called digital business card system, in Hungarian digitális névjegyrendszer, that is the DNR. It's quite similar, or the functions are quite similar to the ones of Selfie. It's very, again, complex. It provides some development, provides some self-reflection, but it's perfect not just for institutes, but for employers, and again based on self-assessment. except for reflection, it provides some suggestions for development, what to do and how to do to step further, to step on higher stages. What about the modules and what about the stages of DNR? There are 5 modules, so you can have a picture about your digital competence in 5 different areas: leadership and management, digital pedagogical culture, professional development, school digital culture, and even infrastructure. And there are 5 stages, 5 levels of digital competence of the institutes, from the newcomer, the entrant, through advanced to master level. So institutes can assess their level, and moreover, they are provided some suggestions from the program how to develop, what to develop to get further, to get higher. Education is the first place where generations meet. And we know that, and of course, we realize that today generations, Generation Z and Generation Alpha, are different from our generation, Generation X. If you look at this picture, it's funny, however, it gives a kind of idea what is the different, our attitude, our ways of thinking. So what is an essay, assignment? Is it a composition, or is it a post with comments on your Facebook page? Different generations think in a different way about things. I do not like exaggeration. I do not like a very rigid categorization. But we must say that there are some statements, there are some situations which are absolutely true. And that is true. In today's education, all teachers were born in the 20th century, and all students were born in the 21st century. So last century teachers teach current century students. Why could be it problematic? So teachers mostly belong to the group of Generation X, who are categorized or considered as digital immigrants. Looking at the age pyramid in Hungary, most teachers are over 40 and 50, which means that when they learned at university during their teacher training course, they did not learn new methodologies, especially digital methodologies. On the other hand, there are a lot of further education developing digital competence which are available for teachers in Hungary. Moreover, during COVID-19, teachers had to get used to, had to apply a lot of digital devices, a lot of digital methods and techniques. And I think that the picture is now much better. And what about students? Students are the typical digital natives who were born in the digital age. But we must state, however perfectly they use digital tools, it does not absolutely mean, or does not mean at all, that they have high-level digital competence. Although they are online in 24 hours, 7 days, but we are not sure whether they have good level of digital ethics, how to behave in the online space. And what we see absolutely, that they overuse social media. So we must say that digital generation is different from Generation X, teachers and parents generation. They like sharing and searching new pathways. They are quite mobile. They cross borders, physical and theoretical borders, and they try to find new ways between things and words. They cross even communication borders because they cross space and time. And finally, they love games, especially digital games, but they learn from games because they consider games as a kind of safety space, safety situation, as a kind of simulation where they can learn absolutely safety. So that's why gamification should be somehow involved in education. Their brain works in absolutely different way as they spend hours on the internet, and it changes their brain activity, what we can say, when we search on the internet, our brain works as we were doing crossword puzzles. So it derives their attention from deep thinking. Why is it a problem? If we cannot concentrate deeply, if our minds, our attention derives then from working memory to long-term memory, pieces of information cannot be transferred. Just very few pieces of information can be transferred. Moreover, this information is mixed and confused. The problem is that if the working memory cannot work properly, then we cannot find link between old and new information, and we cannot recall information later. Moreover, as they spend a lot of time on the internet and social media, they've got used to very fast response time and multitasking, which means that traditional education at school, especially frontal education, is absolutely boring from them. Moreover, they like discovering things. They try to learn from doing things, being involved in things, and discovering things. Finally, their mind works as a hypertext. They have a hypertext mind, so they gather information from different sources, leaping from one piece of information to the other, which of course results in the fact that their attention is derived and they can focus on one piece of information for a very short time, for let's say 8-10 seconds. So it is obvious that we have to do a digital transformation in education. Finally, I would like to present some research results which were conducted by me in the last few years, before, during and after COVID-19. There are partly or mainly focused on digital competence at school, both of students and teachers, stereotypical statements about using digital devices, etc., etc. The first research I would like to show is a TALIS research. It's a European survey which was translated by me and my colleague into Hungarian language and sent to teachers in spring 2019, so absolutely before COVID-19. The respondents were mostly elementary and secondary school teachers, and we received 306 answers from 17 different schools from the central Transdanubian region of Hungary. We asked teachers what types of skills they were taught during their teacher training course at the university. And if you look at the using ICT devices, nearly half of the, or a little bit more than half of the teacher mentions that they had courses, they had some learning materials at their teacher training course. When we asked them on what level they are prepared to use digital devices, we received 2.89 on the 5-grade scale, which means they are partly ready, partly prepared to use digital devices. We examined whether there is a connection between age and the time spent in the teaching career and the attitude or the preparedness to use digital devices. In both cases, the correlation is significant, negatively significant. However, it's weak, which means that the older the teacher or the longer time they spend in teaching career, the less they could use, the less they are prepared to use digital devices. Then I asked them what kinds of further education they need, and we listed again 7 or 8 different types of further education. Regarding ICT skills further education, received very high points, the second highest, 2.45, which means that in 2019, absolutely before the online education, teachers realize that they really need further education to improve their ICT skills. The second research was conducted just before the online education COVID-19 in February and March 2020. The population was secondary school students. 264 students answered our questionnaire, and the purpose of the research was to examine stereotypes about different generations. So we asked students to evaluate on a 5-grade scale to what level they agree with the stereotypical statements about their generation and with some statements about Generation X. So they mostly agree on a 5-grade scale. As you can see, the results, the mean, the average, they mostly agree that whenever they go, they have their smartphones with them, or they actively use more than 2 social media, or when they are on the internet or they do something on their smart devices, they do minimum 2 things parallel. So that is the multitasking and being on the internet and contacting in social media. But they mostly disagree with the statement, which are again stereotypical, that they have already bullied other students on the internet. They are not aware of possible dangers, so they say they are aware, or they are absolutely not agree, or mostly not agree, that they immediately post anything they do. And the least point received the statement that they have already shared sexually provoking pictures of themselves in the social media. And now, some statement about Gen X. So we ask students to evaluate to what level they agree with the stereotypical statements about Gen X, the generation of their parents and students. And they partly agree with most of the statements that their teachers and parents have difficulty to find something on the internet. They are not really good at using smart devices, and they are not really good at using social media. So we received the picture back that Generation X is not the best one at digital technology. The last research, or the last 2 pieces of research, were conducted, the first one in May 2020 during COVID-19, and the last one in May 2021 when secondary school students finished their online education, which lasted nearly 1.5 academic years, and they went back to education. In the first research, the number of the sample was 260, and in the second one, 602. So quite a lot of sample, quite a big sample. However, the research was not representative to Hungary. First, I measured how much time students spent in 2020 and 2021 on the internet, learning, entertaining, and keeping contact with their friends and family. As you can see the figures, there is a harsh increase time spent on the internet from 2020 to 2021. The figures are nearly doubled. Regarding learning, it is might due to the fact that in 2021, in education, secondary education, live online lessons were compulsory for both teachers and students. But if you see entertainment and keeping content, so students spend a lot of time altogether. That's the daily. I forgot to say, so daily. So students spend more than 16 hours daily on the internet. Then we listed them different statements, and we asked them to express their level of agreement on a 5-grade scale, referring to online education during COVID-19. It's obvious from the figures that they had enough device, so it was no problem with devices, it was no problem with internet access. They mostly could connect to live online lessons that received 2.61, and of course, but they say that they feel that they are not better working in groups in the online space than at school during traditional education. They find it partly problematic to find information on digital platforms which were suitable for learning. I would like to highlight attention that we asked that they connected to online lesson, but during lessons sometimes they did something else and did not pay attention, and unfortunately the figures cannot be seen, but the average increased from 2.73 to 3.94. And of course, they mentioned that it's over 3, that they learned some new applications during online learning. We examined whether there is a connection between the age of student, between some social democratic factors and online learning, the age, parents' qualification, and students' academic results. Regarding connecting the lesson and doing something else, there is a positive, significant correlation with the age of student and parents' qualification, which means the older the student was, the higher the parents' qualifications were, the more often happened that students connected to live online lessons but did something else instead of paying attention to the lesson. On the other hand, academic results, we see that there is again a significant correlation, but negative correlation, with 2 variables, which is they would like to learn online in the future and they could better concentrate during online learning. So it means that the higher the academic results the students have, the less they like online learning, and the less they would like to continue online learning in the future, and the less they could concentrate on lessons during online education. Finally, I asked an open question. What was the most problematic, the most disturbing for them during the online education in the academic year 2021? And they listed online teaching several things. So they mentioned teaching methods. They said that teacher worked as if it was a traditional face-to-face education and did not really use digital methods and digital techniques. The next one, the quantity of tasks and homework. They said that they received much more homework and tasks than during traditional face-to-face education. The expectations were too high compared to the material which was taught during live online lessons, and teachers did not pay enough did not have enough emotional attitude to teenagers who suffered from lockdown and online education. All it means that teachers are not really prepared to digital transformation, to use digital technology. So it means they have to adapt new attitude. It's a must. They have to apply new methods. Students like learning in groups, in working in groups. Teachers should involve students' own devices, that is the bring your own device method, to motivate students. Teachers should use e-learning platforms like MOOC or Moodle on other platforms, and involve gamification in their teaching process. Why? With these techniques, they could motivate students, and through these techniques, they could improve their problem solving, and they could develop their creativity. And all this means they could prepare their students for the expectations of the labor market. So, thank you very much for your attention. Goodbye.